We are back. Welcome, everybody, to the Three Man Rush podcast. I'm your host, Landon Oliver, here with my two co-hosts, Andrew Scott and Big Jared Holly. What is going on, boys? Week 3 in the books. How we feeling?
Thank God.
Yeah. Week 3 was weird.
On paper, we spent all last week talking about how bad it looked. There are actually some decent games.
The games themselves were pretty entertaining. It was just a lot of the people that produced in the games were not the people I was anticipating to produce.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a great. I know we didn't do a DFS show this past week, and we had some schedule conflicts that ended up being like by the time we were going to be able to do it, it was almost going to be pointless to do it. So we just didn't do it, and it's probably for the better, at least for my sake. I'm glad I wasn't able to put my week 3 DFS takes out there.
I'm 3-0 on the year so far.
You had a good week 3?
Yeah, I did. Good. It was very scary. I had Austin Eckler again this week, and but nobody hit. So it was one of those things where like all the chalk didn't hit. Justin Jefferson did not do anything in week 3. It was crazy, man. It was a crazy week.
That's and I had when you're facing lockdown Jeff Okuda.
The real NFL games though, like I was watching Red Zone and on those noon games, and it was just like game winner. Now let's go to this game for the next game winner. Now let's go to this game for the next game
14,
winner.
13, 14. Like that's
so that aspect was pretty entertaining.
I want to hit on 2 points here because we didn't get to them. First point is, how about that Geno Smith, Marcus Mariota duel I told you all about last week? That was a damn good game, wasn't it?
Geno Smith kept it very entertaining for the first half. He absolutely, did nothing to help keep it going in the second half. But the first half of that game was very entertaining. I was very intrigued.
Actually, I didn't play Eckler until I played like the afternoon slate and played Eckler. Oh no, I lied. I did play Eckler. My chalk pieces were terrible, man. I mean, absolutely awful. Outside of Dameon Pierce, I did play Dameon Pierce, and that was a good play.
Yeah, I did play Pierce in one of mine too.
But I played Christian Kirk. I played Devontae Adams, didn't do anything. I had Jonnu Smith at tight end this week just to pay down and get up with some other people. I played. So listen to my what got me to cash this week, and it was just a wild week. I had Chris Olave. Chris Olave had a great game. And he was my second highest scoring player behind Jalen Hurts, and
he's the only part of that offense that looks good right now.
He's the only one that looks healthy.
They actually rank 32nd in the NFL in separation percentage from their wide receivers.
That's wild.
That's not. I mean, whoever Michael Thomas is in your wide receiver room, that's not all that surprising. But 32nd's bad though. That's bad. But look, I mean, if I can throw some shade at Michael Thomas, if you're going to just lay it up there for me, I'm not going to not.
Something else I want to lay up here for you because we didn't get to talk about it last week, and I know I want to give you the opportunity. Albert Pujols hit 700. I want to give you an opportunity to say some words here before we get started in the NFL.
I don't know what else there's left to say. I mean, he's the greatest baseball player I've ever seen in my lifetime. Like, since I have been on this earth, somehow I have been fortunate enough and blessed enough to get to somehow just so happen to exist at the same time as Albert Pujols and get to watch his entire career unfold, all of his best seasons being with my favorite team. So I am a little biased here. Like, even the year he's having right now, by most advanced metrics, are better than any year he's had with the Angels. Like, all of his great seasons have come in a Cardinals uniform, and he just continues to break records and milestones. And he's the greatest baseball player I've ever seen with my two eyes. Not taking anything away from the guys that I didn't get to watch, but it's just, for me, like, you can go back and watch as much old footage and old games and stuff as you want. It's really hard to really truly appreciate and take in what you're watching if it's not like real time and getting to see. I've gotten to see so much of it in person as well with Pujols. Like, it's just a little bit different for me. And then of course the whole biased Cardinals factor. But I mean, it's wild to think there was a point where I was stressing if he would even get to 700. and then he does 699 and 700 in the same game and leaves himself like 9-10 games to spare. It's like I don't even like not even close to having to stress if he does it or not. Like now I'm just curious, does he pass Babe Ruth for second most RBIs of all time? Because he's not. I think he's in the single digits away from doing that. So it's like he's incredible, man. And on top of everything he does with his bat, prior to him getting a little older, he was also an incredible fielder as well. I mean, he's just had big postseason moments, 2 World Series champions, multiple MVPs, should have more. If Barry Bonds wouldn't have, cheated his way to the success he did with San Francisco, Pujols would have more MVPs than he does. He's greatest player I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I'm just so thankful. I just so happened somehow to get to exist the same time he did and get to watch his entire career unfold. It has been an absolute pleasure. And him and Yachty, man, have given me memories that will last a lifetime. And I can't wait to tell my kids and my grandkids. And they're those type of players that, like, that if younger generations that you surround yourself with become baseball fans, those are the type of players you're going to be telling them about. Like, I got to watch this guy, and so it's special, man. I've just been trying to appreciate as much of this season as I can. Thankfully, they're about 2 innings away from also clinching another NL Central title, assuming they don't blow this lead against the Brewers while we're recording this podcast. And so I'm really glad those guys get to also go out with another NL Central title under their belt. And hopefully, it almost sounds too good to be true for those guys to go out winning a World Series together. It's like a storybook Hollywood type of ending, but I'm not going to put anything past these guys with all the things they've done in the postseason over their careers and things like that. The National League is really, really tough, but I would. There was nothing more. I've never wanted a team to win a World Series more than I have this year's Cardinals team, just sending those guys off the right way. But even if that doesn't happen, they've given me enough memories to last a lifetime, and I'm just really thankful I've gotten to watch it unfold. But yeah, Albert's amazing on and off the field too. It's another thing that I don't feel like is talked about enough, and something that makes him so special is everything that he does charitably off the field. Like even after he left St. Louis, he still had things going in St. Louis, and still to this day does. He's an incredible ball player and an incredible person, and somebody that deserves to be celebrated. So I'm glad that the baseball world has been showing him so much love, because it is very, very, very well deserved.
He didn't cheat anybody on 699 and 700 either. Those were movies.
That's the thing with like this entire second half of the year, man. Like I don't know what that home run derby did for him, but it unlocks something. And that dude has been absolutely crushing the baseball. And it's like even the home runs he's been having, like the situations, like he's had so many home runs in the second half in big spots where they needed a run. He's putting them ahead or putting the game away or getting them one run away from coming back. Like they're in big spots where they need him. Like it's not just like, it's 10-0. Let's throw you in there to pinch hit, and so you can get an at bat against a lefty and he hits a home run. Like it's like, no, wait, Pujols, we need you. And just like the Pujols of old, they need him, and he just keeps showing up. It's been incredible, man. It's for me, it's been must-see TV. I've tried my best to not miss a single game since the All-Star break, especially once things started really ramping up. I don't ever want to miss a game usually anyway, but just all these other things going on, it's been, man, it's been special. This is a season that, regardless of how this ends in the postseason, this is a season I will never, ever forget.
Yeah. All right. I love it. I just wanted to give you a little bit of time.
I appreciate that. I could go for 45 more minutes. That's where I just wanted to cut it off there, because like that's like the short.
No, I thought I was gonna have to start playing you off here in a second. I was like, well, we're almost 10 minutes in.
Now, Drew, save that energy for the Arizona Cardinals, because we'll have them to talk about as well.
There's not near as much nice things to say about them. Holy.
Yeah. Well, we are, if you are new here, first off, we want to welcome you. After that little spiel, we do want to welcome you guys. Any new subscribers, anybody like that, we want to thank you as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. And had some pretty good, decent hits there on the podcast episodes as well. So we want to thank you for that. And if you are listening on podcast, make sure to subscribe and follow us on anywhere, podcast, whether that's Spotify or Apple or anywhere. Leave us a review, leave us a rating if you can. I would greatly appreciate it. But we are changing something up a little bit here. Normally, we do the 1 p.m. slate of games before we get into the late slates and then, the Sunday night, Monday night games on the next episode. Well, because the London games pushed everything forward and there's so many games in this early slate. There's 11 games compared to how many in the late slate?
Five games, and that's counting Monday Night Football on its own separate night.
Yeah, we're going to be splitting these up. So we're going to do 8 and 8. We're going to hit 8 games tonight. We're going to hit the other 8 games in the next episode. So make sure to follow that. So we do just want to switch it up, but hopefully it's not going to end up like this all the time. It's just the way the schedule fell this week. I mean, if it does,
the early slate's so heavy this week. Which I mean, there is a London game mixed in there too. So
which is great because now football at 8:30 in the morning. As soon as you wake up.
This is the one time it doesn't really pay off to be in the West Coast because you have to fucking wait. Like imagine being a Vikings fan or a Saints fan in the West Coast. Like you're having to set alarms and shit to catch that game. So
yeah, I don't know if I want to get up that early on a Sunday, but I'm definitely cool with having a little bit of breakfast, watching some football.
Yeah, football and breakfast.
It's literally an all-day affair on Sunday, so it's going to be pretty exciting. But I do want to get in. So week 3. In the books, we're 3 weeks in, and it feels like we don't know a damn thing. Like nobody knows a damn thing.
I know something about one team. The Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in the NFL right now.
They're one of only 2 undefeated teams in the NFL right now.
They're the best team in the NFL right now.
They most certainly have a case. You could make the case. I think there's still a handful of teams you can make that argument for.
They are dominating teams right now.
The teams they've played aren't like
two of the teams they've dominated are Detroit and Washington. So, but they also made Minnesota look really bad, who I was very high on this offseason. So it's not like they've played nothing but slouches. And at the end of the day, you got to play who's on your schedule.
Yep.
But yeah, they're not just like.
I still want to hold on.
They're beating the shit out of guys.
Their schedule's pretty soft too.
I'm still a pretty big believer in Buffalo, just because like they were dealing with some major injuries.
Yeah, like their entire secondary.
Yeah. Well, even then, I think their biggest loss was Mitch Morris on their offensive line. I mean,
it's another big one.
That's a huge loss for that team.
How lucky does Miami have to be to come up? They play Baltimore and their secondary's in shambles. They play the next week. They play the Bills. Their secondary's in shambles. Like, how lucky can?
Well, not only that, it was actually like one of the first games that like a team had been like outscored or like the yardage wasn't right.
Oh, it was
the Bills. The Bills ran like 50 more plays than the Dolphins.
Yeah,
they had over 200 something more yards.
Yeah, it was so weird. Like I remember like looking at this like the box sheet.
Josh Allen threw the ball 60 times.
Yeah, and I was sitting there and I was watching it and I'm like, that's a Colts game. Like they played so much better and they lose. Like that's a Colts game, right?
I don't know if that's ever been done. As far as such a differential in plays and yards and everything.
Yeah, it was wild. That was really wild.
It was a weird game. And so, like I said, I still like right now, I do think if like fully healthy and everybody's there, I still think Buffalo is a little bit above everybody. But the Eagles are coming. And before the season started, I told everybody on this show and all these listeners, Jalen Hurts. I made a point. I said, by the end of this year, he will be looked at as an elite quarterback and a franchise guy. And through 3 weeks, I'm looking pretty good right now.
That's something going back like 2 years now. Like whenever we first started this podcast, that's something that we have constantly said is like Jalen Hurts every year going back to his first year in college, he gets better every single year. We've been saying this shit. Like we've been saying it before we've been doing this podcast, but we can go back now on video and show you. We've been saying this shit for a couple of years now. Like, I don't know why you guys are still doubting this man. All he does is work and get better and better and better. And then the Eagles, in turn, have made their team around him better and better and better. So it's like if you're a part of this podcast like us three are, or if you're somebody that listens to this podcast on a regular basis, the Eagles being really good is something that should not have caught you off guard.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah, I
And
think
to
we had
Just
Lane and I had them as
little
a 2 seed.
toot our own horn there, because
Yeah.
this is something that we
Say
did.
Jared and
we
I
did
had them in the
forecast.
NFC Championship game before the season started.
Y'all
So,
both had them as the 2 seed in the NFC, which
yeah.
might have been too low.
Yeah, I was gonna say we might have been too low.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, we had a good fun week 3. There were some cool games going on here. But we do want to get started with our Thursday night game, and we actually got another good Thursday night game. The undefeated Miami Mike McDaniel's Big Balls Dolphins.
That really rolled off the tongue there.
Yeah, it flows. Going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. So the early lines right now, weirdly, the Bengals are 3.5-point favorites right now. And the money line does favor the Bengals minus 189. And the over-under is 47.5. So I know the Bengals are at home. This is it's weird though to see them be favorites, over 3-point favorites in this matchup, considering the Dolphins are undefeated. They just took out the Bills. They're winning the AFC East right now. And the Bengals, on the other hand, I mean, they did win this week, so they got their first win this week. They're no longer winless, but they still look rough. They still look like they had a lot of kinks to work out there. They have not looked good. So, and what worries me too, I think it's funny. Tyreek Hill specifically made to mention Eli Apple in his media day.
He's about to cook that man.
Yeah, he specifically mentioned Eli Apple. He said the cheat is coming. I remember last year.
He said, I owe you, boy.
Oh,
yeah. He's about to cook the shit out of that man.
Yeah. Well, they got Jalen Waddell as well right now, and yeah, man, like they're looking good. Hopefully, there's no symptoms from Tua. I know he took a pretty good hit, and he's been listed on the injury report. I think there's like an ankle injury and something like that.
It was they listened to this. The dude got smoked.
Yeah,
and then was like tripping trying to stand up. They listed it as a back injury. I'm like, man, look, I've hurt my back a couple times already.
Back and an ankle.
Yeah, it's like that man didn't have a back injury. He had a concussion. But the concussion protocol is very selective in the NFL, depending on who needs to be out on the field, who doesn't, the level of the game, where we're at in the game. Like, I don't care, man. You can tell me whatever you want.
There's
no way in hell you're convincing me that Tua did not have a concussion in that game.
I saw there's like an investigation now into the concussion protocol in that Miami game.
It should be, man. Like, I've never seen. I don't know if I've there's been a couple that it's like, okay, that's a little fishy. I don't know if I've ever seen one that obvious where he his teammates are having to like hold him up because he can't stand up by himself, and they're like, oh, it's because his back hurts. Like, if that feels insulting to me as a person. Like, I feel like you're insulting my intelligence now. Like, with it being that painfully
we all watched the Will Smith movie. We know know what it is.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I mean, it sounds like I'd be surprised if he wasn't out there for Thursday night. I mean, if he was able to come back and play in that game with his back injuries, I can't imagine it holding him out of this game. Yeah. So it should be a very entertaining.
That's what I'm curious about, because I do know, like, with concussion symptoms, they can occur like a couple of days later before they.
Yeah, they can show up in the middle of the week. Yeah.
So that's just something I'm kind of keeping an eye on to see if he has any lingering, effects.
I think they said that like the Dolphins didn't practice today, but they still have to give out like a projected practice report if they would have practiced, and I think they anticipated he would have been limited today had they have practiced. So, we'll see. No word
There
of
was another person
protocol, but
that was falling over the field, and they kept him in the game too. It wasn't the same game. I can't remember who it was, but there was two questionable.
There was another one this week.
I can't remember who it was though. Like, that's the problem.
It might have been Justin Herbert, because the fact that he was still in the game late after that game was out of hand.
They're getting blown out. He's just in there taking shot after shot.
Yeah. I've seen this movie up close, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
I know what this leads to.
But I don't like how that's looking for old Herbie either.
Yeah, or Staley for that matter. I don't know what's going on with your boy out there, but
he's getting the full
Los Angeles Chargers.
He's getting the full experience of getting to deal with the Chargers medical staff. Because holy shit, man.
Yeah. It's every year.
We're 3 weeks in. You think that team looks like they're about 15 weeks in. Like,
yeah,
man. But I digress. We're not even talking about the Chargers right now.
So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. We do want to get to Miami and the Miami Dolphins and the Cincinnati Bengals. Whiteout game. We get the all-white Bengals uniforms. I'm really excited to see that. Something else that is very questionable, other than Tua's concussion symptoms, are the Bengals' offensive line. That is a very questionable unit right now. Joe Burrow's getting killed, and of course, he's doing them no favors himself. He's holding on to the ball very long, looking very indecisive, very inaccurate, which is kind of a weird thing for Joe Burrow, considering those are generally his two biggest strengths: is good decision making, accuracy. He kind of knows what's going on, so it's kind of weird to see him struggle. What do you make of this Bengals team? Is it just kind of a Super Bowl hangover, you think, or is this kind of deeper issues that might be season long?
I feel like it's deeper issues. There's a lot of red flags right now in Cincinnati. You kind of mentioned it with last year they had the worst offensive line in football, or one of the worst offensive lines in football, and they made it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, that was the worst.
It was? Okay, so it was the worst. But Burrow was able to make, chicken shit out of chicken salad, like he made it work. And now I just don't, I mean, there may be a little bit of a hangover, but at the same time, they can't afford to play like they've been playing. Not with Baltimore being as good as they are, and Cleveland keeps hanging in there. And that's the other thing in that division.
Look at Jacoby play.
Jacoby Brissett's looked all right. I mean, it's nothing flashy by any means, but they're getting wins.
You better calm down for you to fuck around and start for Carolina next year.
No kidding. That's a whole nother.
Saw that about that the Dallas quarterback too. I thought that was good.
Yeah,
he's gonna play his way into Carolina.
It's a pretty funny bit right now. I like that one.
But Cincinnati they do not look good. They don't. Joe Mixon's looked awful through 3 weeks. A lot of it has to do with the game plans that look bad. They struggled against the Jets. I mean, the final score didn't show it, but there was many drives that came. It stalled out when they should have put that team away much earlier in the game. I don't know, man. They got me worried.
Well, too. So the offensive line, for sure, is an issue, and it needs to be addressed. I don't want to give Joe Burrow a pass, though, in this, because I think he holds just as much blame as the offensive line does for some of the hits that he's taken, some of the sacks he's taking.
He's holding on to the ball too long.
Yeah. I don't know what's really going on. I just don't know if he's just not seeing things as well, or if, the hits have, from last year added up some, or he doesn't have trust in his offensive line, or, maybe it's the tight end situation as well. But
I think
it's,
one thing that goes unnoticed on that too is he did come into the season a little banged up, right out of the gate. He didn't miss any games or anything like that, but he carried question marks going into week 1 on health, so that may play a part in it. He may have lingering injuries from last season.
Yeah, those hits add up, and they not only affect the quarterbacks. I mean, your body. It's tough to take those hits, week after week and year after year like that. But the psyche of the quarterback, your mental processing speeds up a little bit because you're anticipating those hits. You're trying to get through your reads too quick. Guys aren't getting open in time. Throws off that rhythm. And as we know, man, in the NFL, dude, half a second is an eternity. So that mental processor speeds up half a second. You're looking for a guy to be in his route because you're sped up because you're afraid of the offensive line. That guy hasn't hit that point yet in that route, that route tree, for that ball to come out. You got to pull the ball back down, hold on to it, boom, you're getting hit again. So it's all kind of a cycle. It compounds it, or, it's kind of compounding the issue with the offensive line. And that's not to excuse the offensive line. They absolutely deserve a lot of blame in that. But I don't want to excuse Burrow as well. So I think this is kind of something that until that gets ironed out, I do agree, Jared. I think this is a big red flag for this team. And they have to get it figured out, and they got to get it figured out quick, because with the way Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are playing right now, specifically Lamar Jackson, who's right now probably my MVP for
Definitely.
week 3.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to get any easier as the season goes along. So yeah, this is a big game for them. This is a big game for them. I'm curious to see, because Miami does struggle a little bit rushing the passer. I know Jalen Phillips is he hasn't quite taken the leap that I expected him to take this offseason. He hasn't played bad by any means, but I expected him to be a little more dominant than he has been through the first 3 weeks. So this could be a good get-right game as far as the offensive line and running the ball, clock control, because you want to keep that offense off the field as much as you can, because with those, the Bengals defense right now, they have a lot of work to do too. This whole team, I don't know really what's going on there in Cincinnati, but hopefully those white, the all white Tiger jerseys, they bring out a little bit of.
Sounds like I'm the least concerned of the 3 of us with Cincinnati then, because I'm not all that worried. I'm really not. I think in terms of whenever you put together new units in an offense or defense, I think one of the most important ones to give time and to let gel is the offensive line. Getting reps together, getting familiar with each other, I think is huge for an offensive line, especially one that saw as much
It's the
turnover as
biggest
Cincinnati.
thing. It's the biggest thing.
So I do think that'll get figured out. I think it'll get better, even if it doesn't turn into the we were saying in the offseason the offensive line was going to go from a weakness to a strength, even if it doesn't get to a point to where it's like a strength for the team. I do think it ends up getting to a point to where it's not a weakness like it was last year, like it was up to this point this year. I think that gets better. And I'm one guy I'm not going to doubt is Joe Burrow. He's going to figure it out. And I think I saw flashes from what I watched. I watched a decent amount of the Jets and Bengals game. There were a lot of pieces that I was really interested in that game, just from like a playmaker standpoint. Like I really like a couple of the Jets receivers. Obviously, I like the Bengals receivers, and then I'm a huge Sauce Gardner guy, so I wanted to watch a lot of that game. And I liked a lot of what I saw. I think my biggest concern is what Jared brought up earlier with the running game with Joe Mixon. Like Mixon has been getting more passing opportunities than I expected, because they didn't really use him that much in the passing game last year. But just overall, I have not thought that Mixon's looked that good, which is part of why I was so impressed with them just coming out and throwing the ball against the Jets. Like, fuck it, man. Why keep trying to establish the run whenever we got Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase? Like, let's just let him do his thing. So I did like to see them coming out early and aggressive. I really hope they keep that same mindset in this game, because I think that's what you're going to need to do against an offense like Miami. You need to jump out. You need to be aggressive. You need to be, the one pushing the agenda. And so I really hope they come out that way on Thursday night, because I think that'll be their big recipe for success if they can do that. So I think the Jets game was somewhat, even if they didn't look peak Bengals form, I do think that was somewhat of a get right game. I think they needed to see that. They needed to see a little bit of success. T. Higgins looked fucking awesome. Like Jamar Chase didn't have
that catch he made was insane.
The one that they didn't give him?
Yeah.
That was absolutely a catch and was unreal. But yeah,
as a T. Higgins fantasy owner, that was definitely
that was a catch. Yeah,
that was a catch.
And as someone that is also a T. Higgins fantasy owner, I can agree. But yeah, I think the offense is going to continue to trend up. We'll see TBD on the defense, but offensive line and playmakers and Joe Burrow, I think they got a little bit more comfortable this past week, and I think it continues to go that way.
Well, I think you gotta give them the benefit of the doubt. You gotta like Joe Burrow and like
Burrow's on. Burrow has he's earned that.
He's earned the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying I'm overly concerned as far as like I'm ready to write their season off. I'm not, definitely not like that.
No, but I mean they're in a tough conference and a tough division. So I mean they can't really wait for things to gel for too long.
You can't fall back.
No. But that being said, I do think I think this is the week the Dolphins take their first loss. I'm going to take the Bengals in this one.
All right, Big Jared.
I'm taking the Dolphins.
I'm going to take the Dolphins as well. I'm actually going to take the Dolphins in this one. I think I still think everybody's not sold on this team, and I think Mike McDaniels is.
It's weird that I'm the one that picked against them because I am sold. Like I kind of gave Tua the benefit of the doubt this offseason, and I like what Mike McDaniel's done. Like it's not that I don't want my pick to come off as me doubting the Dolphins. Like I think they're legit.
No. I'm not saying that, but
I'm not saying that you're not. It's just in the world that we live in now, I feel like I need to make that clear because you pick against somebody one time, you're like, oh wow, why do you hate the Dolphins?
You hate this team, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to make it clear, I've stuck up for Tua a little bit in the past, even though I haven't been the highest on him, and I love the head coaching hire. I love what I've seen so far, but I think Cincinnati's on the up.
I think this is a game that Mike McDaniels can use in that locker room, and I think guys have bought in to what he's selling.
Mm-hmm.
He's, I think this could be a game that they use where it's like, hey, you listen to the national media, nobody still believes, this team was just in the Super Bowl. They still think, we're fluky, and yes, like our win at Buffalo, they say we're fluky, and we don't deserve to be. Yeah, they don't stay. Yeah, they say we're not supposed to be where we are. Well, hey, this is prime time Thursday night against the team that was in the Super Bowl. Let's go show them just how real we are. So
the reason why I lean towards Miami is I don't trust Mixon, and I know that Miami's strength is at second.
Oh, how the tables have turned!
I was all over Mixon last year when you were not, and the guy balled out. But I mean, it's every year it's different, man. And this year it's
every week.
All right, so let's get in now. We spent, we're 30 minutes in. We've got one game done. I love it. So let's get in now to our London game at 9:30 a.m. morning football in London. Love it. Vikings at Saints, even though they're both kind of away, but the Saints are the home team. That being said, the Vikings are 2.5-point favorites now, and they are minus 149 on the money line. The over/under is 43.5. This is an interesting game. The Saints, for whatever, Saints aren't playing really good right now. The receivers, I know they're dealing with some injuries there as well. But yeah, man, it's weird. I know Chris Olave. I really like what I've seen out of him. I believe he leads the league in air yards by like
a mile. It's crazy.
It's a ton. So yeah, they're really throwing him the ball deep. He's got a huge ADOT. But Jameis is banged up. Kamara's been banged up. Michael Thomas is banged up.
Offensive line.
Yeah.
Offensive line stinks.
Yeah. As we kind of pointed out a little bit before the season that we were worried.
If you lose Teron Armstead, spoiler alert, your offensive line isn't going to be as good the next year.
Well, that and they haven't really hit on some of their picks that they've made as well. So it's it kind of compels itself there, but which is like the fifth time I've used that phrase. I got to find something new to say. All right. So let's get into the Vikings. On the other hand, Drew won our battle barely of the Vikings and Lions. It was a good game. It's a very good game.
It was.
I think both these teams, the Lions, I think, they're close, man. They're so close, and I think they're still learning how to win. Whereas the Vikings have a little bit more veteran. I think they're a little bit further along in that. But yeah, man, it was really impressive showing from them. And I'd be curious to see because Kirk Cousins is now in another primetime spot, if you want to consider it that. Is it really considered a primetime game? I know technically it is because
it's an island game. I don't know if it's a primetime game.
Yeah, I guess primetime's technically like 7 p.m. When America's tuning in.
Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football, but it is an island game. Like all eyes are going to be on Kirk Cousins.
There's no other games going on, so
right.
Everybody's watching Kirk Cousins, and we know how that generally ends.
It's like the cartoons game. It's like your Saturday morning cartoons game. That's pretty much what the London game is.
I love early morning football like that. It's
a beautiful thing.
Yeah. But I do notice though, like I do have to balance out like what time I start to drink beer at. Because like football's
You
on
see
and like
football on TV, so you're like, oh, I need to start drinking.
football's. I'm just like, man, I'm gonna crack a beer open, and then I look at it and I'm like, is 8 o'clock okay? Like, can I do that? I mean, look, I'm a grown man. I can do what I want. So if I want to drink a beer at 8:30 in the morning, damn it, I'll drink a beer.
I'm not going to take too much more time away, but St. Louis Cardinals are NL Central champions. They just won the game. They just closed at Milwaukee.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna say I just got the reminder here.
The Central is back. The Central champions are back where they belong. But anyway, I will say, man, I was really
104.
I was that's that division clinching gas right there.
That's that October heat right there.
Yeah, shit's about to get real hot. But I will say I was really impressed with the fact that the Vikings did fall behind early on against Detroit. To like in the third quarter, they were still down by I think 10. I think it was 24-14.
I was looking good through 3 quarters. I was sitting there. I was like, here we go.
And that's a game where I would typically count Kirk Cousins out. And I was really impressed to see them make that comeback. I love, obviously, as somebody that touted KJ Osborne in the offseason, I love to see him make the big game winning play. That was cool to see as well. As someone that has been high on the Vikings and high on KJ Osborne, that was a nice little two-hitter there for me. But no, I was really impressed because that's my biggest concern with Kirk Cousins and with the Vikings is how do they respond if they do fall behind. Like I don't have a whole lot of concerns with them playing with the lead. But so that was good to see, and
Dalvin Cook is hurt as well. I do want to touch on that. Dalvin did get banged up, but of course, backup extraordinaire Alexander Madison steps right in. They don't miss a beat.
No, they'll be just fine. Regardless.
So it'll be curious to see. So who are we going with in this game?
I got the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm taking the Vikings. The Saints are a mess, man.
They are. I'm going to go with the Vikings as well. All right, so that brings us now to our full normal 12 o'clock game slate. We start off with the aforementioned Detroit Lions hosting the Seattle Seahawks right now. The line on that, the Lions are 4.5-point favorites in this, minus 213 on the money line, with a 50-point over/under. Could be a very high-scoring game, like most Lions games are right now.
I was gonna say, has the Lions had a less than 50 over/under since the start of the season?
They put up a ton of points. That defense, on the other hand, gives up a ton of points. So we'll see if they get that shored up. But Seahawks, I do want to pose this question, which is kind of weird. I know me and Jerry were talking about it the other night. We were over here watching. We had the game on, the Falcons and the Seahawks game. We were watching it. I looked at Jared, and then, of course this wasn't the first half. And I looked here and I'm like, is Geno Smith good? Like what is going on here? Like, is he actually
the quality of quarterback this season is terrible?
Is he good?
That's what it is. It's literally like 3 good quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
It's rough, man. It is a rough. It's tough to watch, and it's tough to break down. I've broken. I think I've made it through like 4 games from this last week already with the all 22. So it's been tough to watch. And even guys like Mahomes. Like Mahomes had a rough week this week. Herbert, of course, had a rough week this week. I don't know what's going on in Denver. The AFC West, man, like
they had an off week.
Getting shut out by that vaunted AFC South this week, man. You can't.
The Broncos need to thank their lucky stars. Their lucky stars they get to play against Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, that's another rough. So yeah, man, it's pretty much like unless your quarterback is black, you're not feeling good right now. Like that's and so it's pretty cool to see the whole offseason narrative of the whole, and really like not even just this offseason, really the whole narrative of the stuff surrounding the black quarterback, and how it's constantly talked about as well, these guys aren't true pocket pads. That's kind of what they say. These guys aren't pocket pads.
They've just completely run the league for the
exactly. And just through 3 weeks, like if your quarterback's not a black man, you're in trouble. So
Unless you're quarterback,
I do think it is funny how that narrative has completely flipped on its head.
Let me give you some perspective real quick. Jared Goff is a top 5 fantasy quarterback right now.
Carson Wentz was up until this week.
Jared Goff is currently a top 5 fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, those guys stink.
He's playing well. Jared Goff's playing well. The offense is not the problem on that team.
No, it was never going to be.
No, that offense is very good. That's a great offense.
Hopefully, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know that injury. Hopefully, that's just a minor thing. He's able to play.
Swift is probably going to miss some time.
Yeah,
which I think would be good. Like I was kind of annoyed that they didn't just hold him out this past week. To be honest, I'm thankful for Swift's long-term outlook and this offense's long-term outlook that they're just going to. Apparently, from what I've read, they're just going to hold him out for a couple weeks. They got an early bye this year.
You talking about Swift?
Yeah,
I was talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No, I know you were. I'm just saying, like keeping up with
Swift's
the staying with the injury aspect of the Lions' offense. Like Swift has been even in week 2, they said he's playing in week 3. He's playing through an injury. His snaps are going to be limited because he's injured.
Well, that's really been the only downside on Swift. Yeah,
right.
This really been the only downside on Swift, and this is even going back to last year. Is the guy's just constantly banged up.
He does get banged up, yeah. But I think part of it has been poor decision making, and it's if the guy's banged up, give him a couple weeks off. Jamal Williams is a very capable backup. He's been a very capable backup at every point in his career. He's not.
Well, at this point, he's not even really the back. They're splitting.
It was whenever week 1 coming out, whenever everybody was fully healthy, it was 70-30 in Swift's favor. He was very clearly the back. He's still gonna get goal line touches. He's still gonna get valuable touches in the offense.
He's gonna get all the goal line touches.
And they complement each other very well. You can afford to give Swift a week off. 2 weeks, 2 weeks off, whatever it is to let him get healthy.
I think this is a good game to give him the week off.
I would agree.
I think this was a good game. So let's go ahead and pick this game here. We got Seahawks and Lions. I am going Lions. They're back on track. Let's go.
I agree. I'm taking Detroit as well. Seattle's awful.
Yeah, I'll take Detroit.
Yeah. All right. Now getting into our next game here.
Oh, look, more awful teams.
Yeah. More bad teams here. Jets, Steelers. I'm glad they put these early, though.
Yeah, you can focus on 1 or 2 games and just block out all the bad. But it sounds like Zach Wilson is going to be cleared for this game, though.
Yes,
that's worse for the Jets.
That's Jared's coming in. That's worse.
It very well could be. Joe Flacco is top 5 in the NFL in passing yards through 3 weeks.
He's playing well, man. He's playing really well. The Steelers, on the other hand, they are 3.5-point favorites in this game. They are at home. So they get the home boost there with the point spread. Money line is -182 on the favorite Steelers, and the scoring is 40.5-point over/under. Probably going to take the under on this one. Also, the under has hit on 61% of games, which is up by 20% over the last few years.
Yeah, offenses overall have not looked great.
Bad, which I think I tweeted something out earlier about that, and I said that we would discuss it on the show. So we've had a lot of bad offensive football. Not going to get any better with this game right here, unfortunately. It's funny. I saw a clip of George Pickens already upset. Mitchell Trubisky, he was wide open on a play, and Trubisky just didn't even look his way, and He's hopping on the sideline. He's just throwing his hands up. And I'm just look, this guy's 3 games into his career. He's already fed up with Mitchell Trubisky. I'm kind of curious that they didn't make the switch to Pickett. Not that, I think Mitch deserves a little bit more of a leash, but it's telling that, they had the 10-day mini bye is kind of what, whenever you play Thursday night football, you get a mini bye because you're off for 10 days before your next game. So they had the mini bye from the Thursday night game against the Browns, and they're not going to make a quarterback move, which normally either the bye week or if you have 10 days to install the plan or something like that, that's when you would want to make that change. They decided not to make the switch. They're sticking with Trubisky. I think I did see something, and this could be it, that offensive line is so bad right now that they don't want to stunt the growth of Pickett by putting him behind that offensive line and getting hit and, possibly injured or something like that. So they prefer to have somebody that's a little more mobile back there that's
I
able to
guess,
avoid
but
pressure.
you're
But
basically telling your fan base you're not worried about competing this year, though. Because
well, I think everybody kind of knew they weren't
well,
competing
but
this year.
you still always have that, like, well, granted, TJ Watt's
Hope,
injury changes
hope.
things, but you've got the highest drafted rookie quarterback in this draft class. You had a defense that was ready to contend. You've got playmakers all over the field on the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line's a question, but fuck, that's not going to get fixed overnight, regardless of who's back
No.
there.
Well, I
But
think
it's
the
like
TJ Watt injury kind of like
that does
changed
change things a
possibly.
little bit,
I
but
think
it's
that
just like
changes trajectory of where they were.
I
I
don't
guess my
know,
biggest
man.
knock too, and I hate to even question Mike Tomlin, but I mean, if you're gonna play Mitchell Trubisky, they're not even playing him correctly. Like they're not letting him run. Like he's been more of a pocket passer.
Yeah, and
Like
this is a guy I remember,
his
I've
rookie
talked to
year, man,
well,
he
well,
was
so
he
so
was the
here I
leader
was
in the league
talking.
in quarterback
Well,
rushing yards.
yeah, I was talking. This was like I want to say like 6 months or so ago. It was right whenever they made the move for Trubisky, and I was actually DMing with a scout, and I was we were talking about the Trubisky thing, and he said one of the biggest knocks of Trubisky. This is even going back to his college career. Whenever he scouted at Carolina, he said whenever Trubisky is your quarterback, you take away half of the field because he only sees half of the field. So you automatically have one half of the field that is completely taken out of the game plan. And I think that has been proven correctly. It's showing itself on Sunday, which is why you have guys like George Pickens running open, Chase Claypool. Like some of these guys are open, and Trubisky's just so laser focused on, where his first read is, where he's not even getting through progression. It's like he sees that read. If it's not open, he either rolls out, takes off, or so. I mean, it really is. It hamstrings an offense because it really. I don't know where I think Pickett would see the field a lot better. I think he looked better in the preseason. I think he looked comfortable back there in the preseason. And things change, of course, when it's live bullets and it's not third stringers flying at you. But
Yeah, for the most part, the preseason All-American team hasn't looked all that great in the regular season so far. So
yes,
it's not to say that
generally,
Pickett would step in and just light the
yeah,
world on
light the
fire.
world. Yeah, for sure. I don't necessarily think that, but I think getting a kid like that valuable reps,
It's
and
worth
that,
a
that could be
shot.
something.
I
Well,
don't
I
think
think
they're
that could
going
be
to lose.
something. That could be something later on that if they are truly out of the playoff race, and I think if they want to get him some development and get ready for next year, I think you could see that move later on. Or if they do start to fall behind too much, I mean, I think Tomlin, I I don't know. I don't know if they would even not go with Rudolph if they're going like I do think that they do want to protect Pickett and they want to develop him correctly. And I do worry about putting him behind this offensive line and asking him to
Yeah, it is bad.
I mean, like you don't want it to be like a Joe Burrow situation where like in his rookie year where he gets back there behind that offensive line and he tears his ACL, he's out the whole year, which I mean, it's worse thing to come back in your second year and go to the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know if that's you wouldn't kind of trade off there, but you never want to see these young guys, lose confidence because once a quarterback, like that's one of the main things with quarterbacks, man, is like if they lose that confidence, man, it can be tough. So I think they're doing the right thing protecting him. But that being said, I don't really see them having too much issues with this matchup. I do think the Steelers win this game, especially if Zach Wilson starts. I think the Steelers can win this ball game.
Yeah, I'm taking the Steelers too.
Yeah, if Zach Wilson's in, I'll take the Steelers.
All right.
I want to make one more comment. Though.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I know Landon, you give Derrick Henry a lot of grief over being just a volume guy. What's your feelings on Najee Harris?
I think Najee Harris is a volume guy.
Yeah, but he's worse than Derrick Henry at it.
Well, he's definitely not Derrick Henry. I do think Najee is like he has his things that he's really comfortable with and he specializes in. And unfortunately, like you don't really get to see that behind an offensive line this bad. Um, because whenever he is in the open field and like, he has the opportunity to make guys miss or out, they get him the ball in space. Like I do think he's a good player. He can make some guys miss out there. I mean, which
I think he can run some guys over. I don't know about making guys
no,
miss.
I mean, I think he makes.
I don't think he's
I
that
think
great in
he makes
space.
guys miss like to. It's actually to a degree that the fact that he's even able to. I think he has one of the lowest like contact before whenever he's getting hit before he gets to the line of scrimmage. I think he's
Yards before contact. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that he's even able to have any type of success when he's consistently getting, and this is even going back to last year, his rookie year, he's consistently getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. And yeah, I mean, he might only get 2 or 3 yards, and you're looking at his carries like, man, this guy was only averaging like 3 point something yards per carry. Yeah, I mean, he's getting hit 2 yards behind the line, and where I do think the Titans' offensive line, like while their pass blocking is absolutely awful, I do think their run blocking is pretty decent. So they are a good run blocking, but yeah, he's nowhere near Derrick Henry. Like it's not even close.
Yeah, I'm the wrong guy to talk to about Najee, I guess. Anyway, I was never the biggest fan. I feel like a lot of his success came from just
Alabama.
being in a dump. It was part Alabama and part like his breakout year was the year he was older and bigger than everybody he was playing against.
Yeah.
And now in the NFL, he's not bigger than everybody he's playing against in the NFL.
Well, I think that, but like even then, like he made a really good run this last one. I mean, he
blew John Johnson up. I mean,
yeah, he makes plays, but like for him, I think the biggest issue is
you can't build an offense around him. And
no, it was just it was the wrong pick, like for what they needed and where they were as a franchise.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I'm not saying I dislike Najee as a player, but you're never a one running back away. You're never
right.
No matter what the situation, you're never a running back away.
You probably like if you don't already have the running back on your roster, you can find him later. Like to your point.
Well, even then, especially like I mean, if your biggest issue is your offensive line, if that's your number one issue,
then why would drafting a running back in the first round fix that?
Yeah, it's like buying a Ferrari and parking it in your trailer park. I mean, like it's just not not viable.
And then they didn't even buy a Ferrari. They bought what they thought it might have been a Ferrari, but like I don't know.
They bought a Hummer.
Yeah, that's a very good comparison.
Yeah, they bought a Hummer, and those are still really nice vehicles.
They are, and they'll run some shit over.
Yeah,
as will Najee.
It is a little concerning. So now I'll get into another fantastic matchup here. The Bears.
Blowing the doors off here.
Yeah, the
both these teams are 2-1.
My Bears. Yeah, crazy to think. You want to know something even crazier to think? The Chicago Bears through 3 weeks have outscored the Green Bay Packers in offense. They've scored more points than the Green Bay Packers.
I'm not shocked by that at all.
Pretty crazy.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, I know everybody's been talking about how piss poor, the Chicago Bears offense is. And I mean, let's be real. It has been rough to watch, especially the passing offense.
The running game.
I actually had this conversation earlier today about the mishandling of Justin Fields. And you're talking about, so this was a guy coming out of Ohio State, I think, to me, had the clear, like, highest physical ceiling in that draft class as far as what he could do as a runner, what he could do as a passer. I thought his physical ceiling was more than Trey Lance. I think he's a better runner than Trey Lance is. But I think you needed to develop him similar to what Philly has done with like Jalen Hurts, or use him similar to how the Bills use Josh Allen. Like I think like that's the formula, and the Bears have done like literally the complete opposite of that. They're putting him and his career at risk with I think how they're handling him right now, and like he's looking really bad because he doesn't have a lot to work with. And on top of that, like we said earlier, whenever that confidence goes for a young quarterback, it is a huge thing. And when you lose that confidence in yourself and you start to question, like, can I play in this league? Can I make these throws? Am I, worth what they've put into me? Draft capital. Like, you don't want to disappoint your the fans, the franchise, your family. There's a lot of pressure on these guys, and they're so young. And you remember what we were like whenever we were 22, 23 years old. Now you put millions of dollars and tons of pressure of like to be a franchise savior on these kids. And then on top of that, you do everything in your power to stunt their growth. You don't give them weapons. You don't give them protection. You don't design an offense around them. You're setting them up for failure. And it's really kind of rubbed me the wrong way to see a guy like that who I think could very easily be a Jalen Hurts type of quarterback, which is crazy to think about. You're comparing guys now to Jalen Hurts, but I think that's a perfect example of where the two franchises are, because I think they're very similar players in the aspect of like they're both like very physical, smart. Like Justin Fields is very smart, like a very, very intelligent guy, like very intelligent football player, sees the field well, but he does have question marks, like his accuracy, his mechanics, very similar to like a younger Josh Allen type of guy. So that's where like I see those two guys, and I'm that's just kind of where I go to is like you look at how the Bills developed Allen, you look at how the Eagles have built around Hurts, you look at that type of stuff, and then you look at what the Bears have done, and it's literally the exact opposite. And it just kind of hurts me to see a guy that has the talent that Justin Fields have struggle. And like now you've got fans on him, you got Twitter on him now. He missed some throws this last week. He didn't look good this last week at all. And now everybody's kind of coming for him. And I really don't think it's this kid's fault. And that's my spiel on the Bears and Justin Fields. Sorry, I was a little long-winded there, but
I was on record saying during this division preview that I felt like Justin Fields was going to be looked at as a bust by the general public after this season, and was not going to be his fault.
Yeah,
and
it's for 3 weeks,
we're watching this play out.
3 weeks, those whispers are starting.
Yep, and I still feel the exact same way. I feel like he is going to be, painted as the bust and the reason for the bad season, and I don't believe that's going to be the case. I don't believe that's been the case through 3 weeks.
Jared made a comment the other day. We were talking about, well, they don't let him throw the ball, and then he immediately threw an interception, and Jared was like, well, that's why they don't let him throw the ball. And I was like, man, like
it was a bad pass to Cole Kmet.
It was a bad pass.
Whenever you have such a small sample of passes to look at through a microscope, they're going to
not only that, but you don't allow them to get into a rhythm. Like that's a huge thing for a quarterback, is you give them, like, especially a young one.
And you're fucking taking away his weapons, not giving them to him.
Yeah,
you're letting Allen Robinson walk. You've got Darnell Mooney as your one that's done.
Equanimeous St. Brown.
You've got Equanimeous St. Brown. You've got like you drafted the first pass catcher you drafted in the draft this year is older than half the receivers that have already been in the fucking league for a handful of years. Like the Velus Jones Jr., the dude that they drafted, like there's already a handful of receivers in the league, been in the league a couple years, and he's already older than him coming into the league. It's just like,
and then they're not even really using him. So
yeah, the Bears are annoying, man. They're very
very
frustrating.
How though they're 2-1.
By the luck of weather and schedule.
I was gonna say
they will be exposed sooner rather than later. I hope Bears fans aren't excited, because your world's gonna come crashing down if you are.
And then on the flip side, the New York Giants are hosting this game as well, coming off a loss to the Cowboys. That offensive line, wow, that might have been.
Some guy tried to tell y'all last week that the Giants were frauds. I can't remember who it was that tried to tell y'all that, but somebody tried to tell y'all they were frauds. And now it's like the frauds versus the frauds. Now this is just like a fraud out, and to see who can be to see who can be.
That was tough. I will say this. Daniel Jones, like his resiliency's really impressed me through 3 weeks. I think he's playing really good ball. He's playing really good football. No, I mean, like it's not fun. He's playing really good football, man. Like, dude, it was so hard to watch yesterday. Like him and like Daniel Jones and Saquon were the only reason they were even in that ball game.
Their offensive line was awful.
That was one of the it might be the worst offensive line performance I might have watched. And
he was pressured in over half his dropbacks.
Yeah, I think he had what was it? Like they were attributed with 38 quarterback pressures on like 60 something.
24 out of 52, I believe is what it was.
Well, I know PFF had them like as far as like quarterback pressures, just like they had it at like a 38 out of like almost 60 snaps. Like,
well,
and it shows. I mean, this dude was running for his life. Evan Neal has looked rough. He's looked really bad. And I think too, like you got to attribute some of that too. Like, I mean, yeah, the offensive line play was bad. It was
the Cowboys got at him, man.
Yeah, man, that's what I was gonna say. Like
that's what the Cowboys do. That's your strong suit.
Well, and I think similar to Joe Burrow, some of this is on Daniel Jones, which is why I laughed a little bit whenever you said like Daniel Jones.
I don't think last just watching from yesterday and stuff. Like, I don't think that game. I mean, I think you could make that case in some of the stuff.
Daniel Jones is who we thought he was.
I think he's played well this year. I think he's played really well this year.
Well, the best news for him
on him as a franchise guy, but I don't think you can put this game on him and like say that he's the reason why they're playing bad. He's the only reason that team, like him and Saquon, are the only reason that team is successful right now. Daniel Jones he's playing really good.
I'm gonna let you down the Daniel Jones.
I'm not saying I'm trusting the guy as a franchise quarterback, but I think it's like that's what's funny is like I think similar to the Justin Fields thing is like you're putting like Justin. It's about guys you like and guys you don't like, and
no, it's about guys. We've seen Daniel Jones enough at this point.
Yeah, but we've seen him with Joe Judge. Like, is that really the guy he is? Where now you actually have very similar to like Trevor Lawrence this year. You actually have an adult who knows what they're doing on offense in the room. Daniel Jones is playing good football.
Doesn't look anywhere close to what Trevor Lawrence has looked like this year.
No.
Trevor Lawrence was a number 1 draft pick too.
Daniel Jones was like top 10, right? He was like the
6th
overall. He was.
Yeah, he was like 7th overall. And then they immediately put him in a bad situation. So, like, what's the difference between a guy like that and a guy like Justin Fields? Where is it the Chicago Bears' fault?
Better prospect.
Was he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in my mind, I'm not going to say for the general public. In my mind, Daniel Jones was a guy.
You have guys like
the guy even during the draft process that I was
Bears. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're higher on Fields than you were Daniel Jones, but it's
in my mind he was a better prospect.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I do like Fields better, but I'm saying it's very similar. It's the same situation where you drafted this guy top 10, you immediately put him with a bad head coach, with a badly ran roster, and you're wondering why this guy fails.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, so now the guy's in, like, but see, like now the jury's out on him, right? He's not the guy. He's not that good. That's automatically in people's mind. But when you
I don't have a conceived notion. I've watched the Giants game because I love Saquon, I still haven't seen anything from Daniel Jones. It's like
I think Daniel Jones has played really good football this first 3 weeks. Even
Jones got a lot more weapons than
Daniel Jones has no weapons.
He's got more than Justin Fields.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that's
you want to count Kenny Golladay, and I know they lost Sterling Shepard. Like, that sucks, man. That sucks for him.
Prior to Sterling Shepard getting hurt, I would have agreed. But now that Sterling Shepard's out and Wanda Robinson's hurt, hurt. I don't know what the fuck is going on with Kadarius Toney. Like that's the one thing I don't. We can't see what's going on behind closed doors. I don't know what's going on with him. He's very clearly, to me, just from what I saw on film last year, there's like Richie James is not more talented than Kadarius Toney. I don't know why Kadarius Toney isn't getting on the field. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I mean, Kenny Golladay is washed. Sterling Shepard was looking really good. It was looking
so many dropped passes yesterday.
Sterling Shepard looked like another Achilles success story, and then he tore his ACL. It's just like I feel so fucking bad for
man.
Sterling Shepard, man.
Yeah, it's
He-
almost
he's
becoming a
He's such a
trend.
good ball
He's
player.
so-
Like
he's
whenever
so-
he's on the field and he's healthy, he's so good. And
Yep.
he was showing it again this year. While he was healthy, he was a difference maker for that offense. And yeah, I mean, with him out now, then Daniel Jones has an argument for the worst.
Him and Fields, yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
1A, 1B. Who's got the worst supporting cast?
Just one guy has Saquon Barkley and one doesn't.
Yeah. Well,
but
one is
yeah.
Khalil Herbert.
Which I have always
Awesome.
felt was
Look,
better
yeah,
than David
he's the best,
Montgomery,
yeah,
but that's
best
another
running back on the team.
argument. But
So
yeah,
man,
no.
like it was rough to watch. It was tough to watch because Daniel Jones did everything he could to keep that team in. He was making some good throws, dropped balls. The offensive line was just like that's one of the worst offensive line performances I.
Well, in all fairness, CeeDee Lamb could have ended that game early last night too.
Oh yeah.
So,
no, that's not to excuse. Yeah, I mean that's not to. Yeah, I think the Cowboys deserve a ton of credit for what they've done. I think weirdly, Mike McCarthy deserves a lot of credit for how he's got Cooper Rush playing right now. He's got that team really prepared from an offensive.
Yeah, they've done well the last couple weeks.
So now the usage for Tony Pollard and like the Zeke thing, like I don't understand why you don't.
Yeah, I
Tony Pollard is clearly the best running back on that roster. Like, I mean, like it's not even close at this point.
Zeke has looked great running the ball this year.
Yeah, Zeke's looked fine.
Like,
I'm not saying
no,
that.
no, not fine. Zeke has looked great.
Yeah,
they're running the ball.
Like
especially considering that the injuries to that offensive line. Like Zeke has looked great.
Shout out to Tyler Smith too, by the way. Rookie offensive tackle.
Their first round pick, yeah.
Yeah, playing really good out
really good ball.
Playing really good football right now.
That's been huge for them with them. Was it Tyron Smith?
Yeah, Tyron Smith's out.
Yeah,
so,
that's been huge. But yeah, no, I mean,
there's a good chance that comes back too this week. So we'll see what happens with that. But
yeah, I don't feel like they need to be rushing him. Like
not with the way that Rush is playing right now. He's playing
even regardless of that, like you just got to be thinking longer term with this guy.
So,
but
yeah, shout out to Dan Quinn too. By the way, Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. That guy's got these guys playing some damn good football on the defensive end. Like he's playing these guys like they're playing good football.
Look, right now. I'm just gonna say it. Dan Quinn shouldn't have a job in the NFL anymore after blowing that Super Bowl. Like to me, like he should be chucking peanuts out in the stands,
well,
a normal person, or watching on Sundays from home like we do. Like,
well, in that case, you better fire Kyle Shanahan too into the sun.
He didn't blow a 28-3 lead.
Kyle Shanahan didn't blow a 28-3 lead
in the Super Bowl.
Did you watch Kyle Shanahan's offense in that league?
They did not blow a 28-3 lead.
Oh yeah, Kyle Shanahan was just as at fault for that game as
I think he was probably more so at fault.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind. I'm sorry. Yeah, he was the offensive coordinator, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, he's at fault too. I mean, I don't even want to talk about that game anymore.
Let's move on. All right, so Bears Giants. Let's get to the next game. Who we got here? I'm going to take
Giants.
I'm going to take the Giants in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Giants too. It's like the like I said, it's the fraud off. Don't believe in any one of these teams. Neither one of them are good.
Yeah, and
I don't give a shit what their record says.
All right, now we get to the fun matchup of the week: the Titans versus the Colts. This is one that I circle every offseason. Speaking of fraud alert, you have two fraud teams. I'm just kidding. Or am I? I don't know. It's the AFC South. You never know. Both teams won this last week. Tennessee Titans beating up on the abysmal Las Vegas Raiders. I think me and Jared actually had the Titans winning this game, or winning that game. And the Colts shocking the Kansas City Chiefs, as we knew they would. Like, I mean, I picked the Chiefs, but I think did we say it on the show? Like, this would be such a Colts thing. Is like they come out and they beat the Chiefs in this game.
I said it before the game started.
Weirdly, had the Chiefs number too.
Yeah.
Which I know you guys are very familiar with.
Yeah. For whatever reason, the Chiefs do struggle against that horseshoe. So Tennessee Titans versus the Colts. Colts are at home. They are home favorites right now. Colts are -3 in the point spread. -175 favorites on the money line with a 43-point over/under. So
God.
I'd probably take the under on this. These are both really bad offenses. I want to give a shout out real quick to Ryan Tannehill. This guy's called a ton of shit, rightfully so. The off season and all that, with his play in the postseason, but he's keeping this Tennessee Titans team afloat almost single-handedly right now. It seemed like a broken record, I guess. Like it's a quarterback guy, I guess, but Ryan Tannehill's playing really damn good for him. Man, he's playing so good right now. He is that offense. And he's making some really tight window throws. He's keeping everybody on cue. Derrick Henry is not looking good running the football. He got him involved in the pass game this last week, and that kind of helped him get going. But they're not running. I believe they rank 28th in the league in rushing right now. Their defense, their secondary is really bad. They're not doing much of anything. I do think they're safe. I love their safeties. But yeah, man, like Ryan Tannehill, for a guy that's caught as much shit as he has, and like I said, rightfully so, with that postseason game and like all offseason, Tennessee fans can't wait to run this guy out of town. Through the first 3 weeks, man, he is the only reason that franchise, which I mean, they're 1-2, so it's not like they're successful, but I mean, he's holding it together right now by shoestrings, to keep them from bottoming out. So as much crap as he's caught, I do want to, let it be known that Ryan Tannehill he's playing really good, really, really, really.
Especially considering the weapons that he has right now. I mean, you got a rookie, Treylon Burks, that's 3 games into his career, and he's really just now starting to get the snap percentages to where he can try to make a difference. Robert Woods coming off an ACL injury. I mean the weapons are not there. I really like to see that they were getting Derrick Henry involved in the passing game. I know he's not your traditional pass catching back, but fuck, the dude's still huge, and you get him out and spell like he has.
Oh, that, but the Raiders, like, it was almost like they were reluctant to. I mean, like, the guy was just wide open. Like, and like, that's a good decision. Like, I mean, if you know what the Raiders are running, and I think rightfully so, Todd Downing gets a lot of bad press too. Like, he's been really bad at offensive coordinator. He's not good, but I will say he does sometimes show really good game plans. I think this week was a really good game plan for that Raiders defense. He got Derrick Henry.
Secondary is just so bad, man.
It's so bad.
Like to the point
the offensive line played well this week for the Titans, which was weird.
The Titans had a guy that they grabbed off. I think it was the Patriots practice squad, and ended up starting over Caleb Farley, their first round pick from last year. This week, like they literally grabbed him off the practice squad, threw him in the starting lineup this week. Like that's how bad their secondary is right now. So I'm expecting a
Pittman
game. Like this man is about.
You see Alec Pierce too? You see Alec Pierce?
I did see him make a couple good plays.
Good man,
Kansas City.
Yeah, he looked really good. He had like 3 or 4 that he could have even had even bigger plays, but the offensive line just did not hold up, which I think to me is still the biggest concern for the Colts right now. That offensive line is terrible.
Luckily for the Colts, the Titans are also, they're also dealing with some injuries along the defensive line as well, even though they still have pieces that will cause trouble.
Oh, yeah, like, Jeffrey Simmons. Yeah.
Jeffrey Simmons is always going to be a problem.
He will wreck
but yeah, I'm expecting a very big game from Michael Pittman. I'm expecting a big Jonathan Taylor game here. With them being at home and
the Colts are like, I know Derrick Henry's been rough this year, but the Colts are absolutely elite against the run. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 7 carries, 0 yards,
and a touchdown. And what a stat line!
What a weird game.
Yeah, he did.
Continues to be the biggest sell high candidate in fantasy.
Yeah. If you got him, sell it. But James Robinson didn't look all that bad against that run defense a couple weeks.
James Robinson
ago,
hasn't,
which he's looked good every week this season so far. He has. I mean, like a lot of his production,
Well, no,
like
I'm saying James
fantasy
Robinson.
wise, he's had some touchdowns too. But he's looked much better than I ever anticipated him looking coming into this year. And he had he had some success against that Colts run defense whenever the Jags and Colts played earlier this year. So
2.78 yards per carry, 23 rushes for 60 yards in that game.
But the breakaway run that he gives you,
yeah. So really,
that's something that
only the one run.
But that's something that I wasn't anticipating him bringing to the table this year, because it's not like breakaway speed and breakaway runs was his game.
I can't wait to talk about the Jaguars.
Did again this week against the Chargers.
But before he even got hurt, before he even had the Achilles injury, breakaway runs wasn't exactly James Robinson thing anyway. So that's something that's impressed me. But nonetheless, that's just to say that I think that Derrick Henry still has the possibility to have a good game just out of pure usage, and if they continue.
Well, yeah, I can see a game like that where it's 23 carries, 64 yards.
But one of those is a 30-yard touchdown run or something.
Exactly.
But
so, I mean,
what I want to see is I want to see them continue to get him involved in the passing game.
Yeah.
That needs to not be a one-game thing.
Well, I think it's going to be a trend for a while.
Well,
I do think they're going to have to utilize him because they don't have enough talent on the offense for him not to be a pass catcher.
Well, I think too, this could be a week. I want to touch on this. I think this could be the week that Shaquille Leonard returns to, and that's a big thing.
That'll be a huge boost for that run defense.
Because this defense, so the way this defense played, and really how they've played all year. So the defense to me hasn't. I mean, the pass rush was a little worrying, like a couple weeks in. This pass rush, this defensive line, balled out.
Yeah, they showed up on Sunday.
They looked good, and I mean, really, like they've only given up like 20. I think it's only like 20-point game is what they're averaging, like on defense, which is like one of the better, in the league. The offense has been the problem. The offense just can't score, but the defense has really showed up. And for as much shit as we gave Gus Bradley, online and all this stuff, he played. I mean, his game plan last week, flawless. Like what he did against the Chiefs was flawless last week. They made, he was willing to make some changes. Isaiah Rodgers, I know you guys said who last week. He came in at cornerback, balled out. Like he took some really good throws away. There are still some things that they need to shore up, but Stephon Gilmore balled out, tight coverage, got the game, caused the game-sealing interception on that last drive. Really impressed with the way the defense played against the Chiefs. The offense, though, it worries me, man. This offensive line worries me. Matt Ryan worries me a little bit. His arms look. He's had some float on him, and I do think as bad as the offensive line is played, very kind of similar to like the Joe Burrow thing. I don't think Matt Ryan's doing him any help or any favors. That being said, like Drew said, the Colts have two new guys on the offensive line. Continuity is a huge thing at that spot. I do think they need to make a move. They need to replace Pinter at right guard. But and then what you're seeing is a new quarterback in a new offense 3 weeks in. That I'm not worried about that. That stuff will get ironed up. And the biggest thing that I can say is, outside of the Jaguars game, which rightfully they deserve the flaming that they got, in the Houston game and in this game, in the fourth quarter, when it mattered, when they needed it, Matt Ryan showed up. That offense showed up. They dug themselves back. So I'm not ready to say this team's good yet, but they did show me some.
I got something to say.
All right.
This right here is going to dictate the season.
Very much so. Very much so.
Coming off a big win like that, if they come out here and look flat and lose to Tennessee at home after a big win against Kansas City, they need to really reevaluate their head coach. And to me, I think that's a lot of the team's problem too. I think Frank Wright may have got a little too much steam. And I don't know if he is the answer for that team. That's what they need. But if they come out and they look flat and they get, especially if they get somehow, and it's very possible they get blown out at home by Tennessee, then Frank Wright's I think he's on the hot seat.
Well, yeah, for sure, because Jim Irsay, what outside of the Carson Wentz stuff, what has Jim Irsay talked about all offseason? They need to beat the Titans. They need to catch up to the Titans in the AFC South. That was his message all offseason. Their owner has put a premium on both Titans games this year. So if they come out flat and they look like shit, yeah, I expect, like Jared said, like, yeah, this could be this might be one of the most important game for them this season, because they're 1-1-1. They have a chance. They're in second place in the AFC South. So they're only one game behind Jacksonville. They have another game against Jacksonville at home. They're in Indy. So they could really, in Jacksonville, I believe, I can't remember who they play this week.
The Eagles.
The Eagles, yeah. So they have a really good shot at getting right back in this thing after the abysmal 2-week start. Like as bad as a 2-week start as you can have. They have a chance to really get themselves into a good position here. So it'll be curious to see. Let me say, let's pick this game. I'm gonna take the Colts in this. I do take the Colts at home.
I agree. I'm taking the Colts as well.
I'm gonna take the Titans.
Fake fan.
I have no faith in this team. I don't.
Yeah, have you watched the Titans?
Yeah, I have. But
How do you have any faith in
this
them?
play out. Like they're gonna come out.
I don't blame Jared for being nervous.
Yeah, I mean,
I really don't. Even despite the Kansas City win, not to say that like.
No, I mean
that win,
Look, I think both these
but-
teams right now are bad football teams. That's very similar to the Bears and Giants.
Kansas City had an awful lot of special teams blunders for that game to still be as close as it was, but nevertheless, the Colts still won that game. But that was
That's another narrative I hate. I hate this. I hate that narrative that the Chiefs gave that game away.
the Colts still took the game.
On defense and offense, like, well, not necessarily on offense. The defense completely took that game.
Yeah,
They did.
I agree. It's just, but it is troubling that you need a missed field goal and a missed extra point and a muffed punt for the game to still be that close. But again, even prior to the season, we looked at Kansas City as an upper echelon team.
I still think they are.
Yeah,
I'll say this too. This was the first game for Kansas City. Like, it hasn't really been apparent. Maybe a little bit last week against the Chargers. You kind of saw it some, but this was the first game that I really thought they missed Tyreek Hill. This was the first game that I've looked and I'm like, that's showing its head this week. So,
I agree. They need to get Scott Moore more offensive snaps, man.
He was rough in this game.
He was rough in special teams, but like MVS, McCole Hardman, those guys, they're not doing it for you.
Yeah, but that's how you got to cut your teeth as a rookie. Like, if you're not making plays on special teams,
you
got to earn that playing time. And
I agree with that completely. I agree with that completely. And Andy Reid is one of those coaches to where you have, as a rookie, like Andy Reid won't even talk to fucking rookies. Like you don't even go speak to Andy Reid. So yeah, it's not going to get any easier for Scott Moore. But I think this offense is going to have those moments until he gets there.
I'm finally, like, I'm a little less concerned with the Colts than I was earlier, just because for now this is the second time in 3 games that whenever they needed it, Matt Ryan he's shown up.
And the biggest concern,
still have not allowed a point in the fourth quarter, by the way.
The biggest concern that you've said up to this point this year is the team looks like they don't give a shit. And
yeah, exactly. It wasn't the offense. It wasn't the defense.
From what I watched at the end of that game last week, that did not look like a team that didn't give a shit. So
no, that'd be the team that comes out on Sunday.
Yeah,
that's my fear in Indianapolis Colts.
Like, that looked like a Colts team that was very bought in, and that was Matt Ryan.
I think that's what I'm saying. Like this, I think this was a big step for this team. This was a big win for this team, because now you have guys that I think have bought into, like, okay, we're buying into Gus Bradley's scheme, because there were some questions, like, on the scheme after this, like, even from players, like, why is this guy not out there playing? Like, is it really scheme? Like, there were questions in the media, which was, like, kind of concerning, honestly. I think guys bought in after this week, and I think guys bought into Matt Ryan after this week. I think Matt Ryan's kind of bought in, and I think this was a big win. This was what this team needed. And I got to say, thanks to Sky Moore and also thanks to Chris Jones for whatever he said that got them that penalty. But yeah, man, like this was a team
I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
that was trash.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he said. It doesn't, man. It doesn't. Matt Ryan didn't even show what tells me that it doesn't matter is Matt Ryan didn't even show that much.
I saw this today, and I think this might be it. So if you remember, like a year or two ago, when the NFL put out a memo about the referees really enforcing the use of the N-word on the field, and that it would be a 15-yard penalty if that word was
like that word and anything homosexual related. Or
yeah. So it was the N-word, and then of course any slurs as far as that. So I think he could have said that in front of an official, and the officials aren't mandated to. If they hear that word,
that is a game, man.
Yeah. Well, keep your composure.
He was. Oh, come on, bro. They just made a huge stop to get the Colts offense off the field at the end of the game. Keep your composure.
Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't enough to get them off the field.
Yeah, that was going to be fourth down. They were about to punt the ball away.
Oh no, they were going for it. But
well, I mean, Matt Ryan was walking off the field, so maybe they decided to send him back out there. But the offense was walking off the field. Yeah. They had just made a stop in the fourth quarter. Keep your composure, my ass, man. If at any point you should be fired up, that's it.
Yeah, I won't know. That's fine. But if you know that is something they're looking for,
that's weak.
Yeah. Well, he had plenty of other opportunities
on the concussion protocol. But if you use a foul language on the field, you're penalized.
Yeah, just don't say weak, but don't say a bad word to Matt Ryan. Oh, that shit was soft. That was bad.
Well, I guess he should have hardened up the rest of that drive because he sure looked soft the rest of the time.
Hey, at the end of the day, too, Kansas City didn't get it done, man. They didn't score points.
Exactly. So you can point to one play, but I mean,
I'm not saying that's the reason they lost. I'm just saying that was a sorry way to insert for the refs to insert himself into the game.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty sorry whenever they missed that 2-point conversion that Travis Kelce didn't get. That was pretty soft for the refs to insert themselves and give Kansas City 2 points for free. So that was pretty soft.
He's defensive. Landon's on. He's on that Matt Ryan pump train.
You'd be over here. If it was any other team other than Indy, you'd be over here on this side with me, saying the same shit I am.
I'm not saying I disagree with it. I'm just
you are. You absolutely are. And that's okay because you're a Colts fan, so you should be disagreeing with me. But I'm just saying, if it was any other team playing against Kansas City with the same scenario playing out, you'd be on the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would also if Cincinnati Bengals said that in the Super Bowl and the Rams got a 15-yard penalty and won the Super Bowl. Guess what? Wouldn't have been a soft penalty. That probably wouldn't have been a soft penalty.
No, there was already a penalty. There were people calling soft in that game.
Yeah, you'd be right along. It's like, well, he should have said that. Rams won the game. Should have said it.
Yeah, Super Bowl and Week 3 are a little different, but
even Week 3. I mean, if it was the Rams instead of the Colts, you'd be right here. You'd be right here with me.
No, someone being fired up and saying a derogatory term.
I'm not saying he did say it or didn't. I don't know.
I don't care what he said. I don't. I don't care. I don't care if he said. I don't care if he said, "Fuck your mother, get off the field."
Yeah.
I don't care, man.
There's language on every play.
There is. That's my point. I don't care if he said, "Hey, I fucked your mom and I just stopped you on third down. Get off my fucking field." I don't care if he said that.
But I'm saying, whenever
it's an NFL problem. It's not a Colts problem.
Yeah. Well, it's not a Colts. It's not a Chiefs problem either.
No, it's not. It's an NFL problem. Yeah. It's stupid. Yeah. Players are going to trash talk each other on the field. These guys are beating the shit out of each other all day. And you're going to expect them not to get fired up and say some shit to each other. They're sitting here just knocking each other in their shit all day long.
Don't say mean things to Matt Ryan. I don't think he even said anything mean to Matt Ryan.
Well, I mean, the from what I've read, the quote that got Chris Jones in trouble apparently was directed to Matt Ryan after they stopped him. And like I said, that was the whole point of what bothered me is Matt Ryan didn't even look like he gave a shit.
Nah, Matt Ryan
Like,
played. He was focused on the next play.
he probably didn't even hear him, but the ref was
clearly,
like, "Oh, hey,
clearly he
it's my
was
time to
focused on
shine."
the next play because Chris Jones
He-
obviously wasn't.
Matt Ryan came out and played great ball to win that game for the Colts. He had a very impressive drive, and I'm not taking
Let's go.
everything that I've said is not to take away from what the Colts did, because at the end of the day, you got to go out there and you got to play ball.
Yep.
And the Colts did that. It's just I just that was just
It's
I
weird.
don't know.
It's so weird how teams have certain teams' numbers. Like the Jags, no matter what, the Jags will beat the fuck out of the Colts in Jacksonville.
The
For
Colts have
whatever
been that way
reason,
with the Chiefs.
dude, whatever reason, man, the Chiefs just have such a hard time against the Colts. Like they might get one every now and then, but I mean, for the better part of like, even like when I was like a teenager, like back whenever the Chiefs
We all remember that Andrew Luck comeback too in the.
well, no, I'm saying even before that, like
No,
Peyton
but
Manning
that's
used
the
to
one that
fuck
always
on the
comes to
Chiefs,
my
dude,
mind.
and for whatever
Yeah, I
reason,
remember that. I watched it with Landon, and he said, "Man, if they come back, you can kick me in the nuts." He was.
I did. I told him that.
I'm like, there's a lot of game left.
That's always that's the Colts Chiefs game that always comes to my mind.
Hey, and to my credit, I was willing to stand up and let it happen too. I said, "Look, I said I would. You want to kick me in the nuts? Go ahead." But yeah, dude, whenever it's freaking like 30-something-3 and it's the third quarter, I'm not necessarily thinking of we're gonna win this game. But yeah, from that moment on, man, I never counted out Andrew Luck.
That guy was such a.
There was never a lead that was safe when that guy was on the sideline.
He was so good, man.
I don't want to talk about this.
He's like the 7th best quarterback in the league right now. He's not even in the league. That's where we're at this season, boys.
You're not that far off, too.
I keep cashing, though. They can play as shit as they want. I keep cashing.
Yeah. Well, we got another game here. So Colts fan Jared is taking the Titans, and me and Andrew are taking the Colts in this game. So let's get on now. We have another game. We got two more to get here, and then we'll get out of here. We got the Chargers and the Texans. Yeah, man, this is a weird team. The Chargers just continue to be the most snake bitten franchise in like just sports, not even just like in NFL. I think it's sports in general.
Yeah,
it's so disheartening, man, because they have such a good outlook now. You know, Rashawn Slater is now out for the year. That's bad. Joey Bosa's banged up now.
Corey Linsley.
Corey Linsley. I mean, dude, there's just a laundry list. Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert in general. I mean, like that guy, they were in a blood. But see, like that's what worries me. Like, is like, yeah, these guys are banged up, and like it's not even just like the coaching staff. I mean, it's every year, and it's never just like third or fourth string guys that don't matter. It's like
it's the big pieces.
I mean, what is it like? They like at one they were missing like 5 Pro Bowl players in this game at one point.
Yep.
I mean, that's just absurd. That's absurd. Like, how do you expect to win when something like that happens?
And then you've got a quarterback that's playing with broken ribs, and like you're getting slaughtered, and he's still out there just taking hits.
And that's not the takeaway from what the Jaguars did. I don't know. The Jaguars came out.
It's not like that was a close game.
No, like they came out and kicked their ass.
Like I'm not so sure that the Chargers would have won that game even if they were fully healthy.
I was about to say it's not like the Jags won on a last-second field goal. They won 38-10.
Yeah, they kicked their ass.
And that brings another point. Are the Colts really that bad? Because
I don't think they're as bad as they. I don't think they're as bad as.
I saw that game this week, and I'm like, well, they lost 38-10 to the Chargers. I'm like,
but to counter that, they tied the Texans, and the Bears beat them. So that's the. I don't want to say loss because it wasn't a loss. That's the tie that looks bad. I don't like the Jags loss looked bad initially.
Yeah, but they lose to the Jags every year.
Yeah, well,
not 24-0 though.
That so I mean, yeah, they lose to the Jags every year.
They lost to the Jaguars 6-0 with Andrew Luck.
Nobody, myself included, I don't think gave the Jags enough credit coming into the year. So that loss looked really bad initially. I think
the Jaguars
halfway through the year, I mean, even right now, but then especially halfway through the year as we progress, like that loss, I don't think will look as bad on the Colts as it did.
this was one of the games that I actually did. The Jaguars Chargers was a game that I actually did an all 22 deep dive into this week. I did it for 4 games. One was the Ravens game, the other was the Dolphins Bills. I had the Colts Chiefs, of course. I always do the Colts game every week, and then the Chargers and Jags was the other one of the 4. So there were some things outside of injury that did kind of concern me a little bit with the Chargers. Most notably, and I know Drew's not gonna like that, but the defense, like the scheming of the defense and the way that they ran that defense, and some of the stuff that Staley was doing, it wasn't working. And for whatever reason, they refused to make adjustments. It looked tough. So, and I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it's really like the defense, like the injuries, or it's tough to say because you don't really know what this team looks like.
No, we have no idea what
Yeah,
this team
you have no idea what this team looks. I mean, outside of week 1 when they were healthy, and I mean, we saw how good they looked then. But since then, and I do think, with the Chiefs game last week too, I thought they were healthy, and the Chiefs absolutely took it to that team. And that was a close game, but the Chiefs, they looked good. Yeah, man, there's some question marks with the Chargers right now. I think we were a little early crowning them. I think we were a little early crowning Staley as like, the next Wonderkin coach. I do. That's really the only concern is just like the lack of adjustments, that they made for, coming from halftime. Because like I said, it was actually a close game after halftime. Like it was close, and they made 0 adjustments, and the Jaguars did. And I think you saw that in that third quarter. Because the Jaguars came out and just in that third quarter and just demolished the Chargers, and the Chargers refused to switch things up. I thought that they thought that, hey, like, this is a close game. What we're doing is working. I think the Jaguars said the exact opposite. It's like, hey, it's a close game. We need to switch it up because I know, like, we're better than what we're putting out there. The Jaguars made those adjustments. The Chargers didn't, and it showed. And even in the fourth quarter, that game has already gotten away from them. They refused to make the adjustments. I mean, the question of keeping Justin Herbert out there in a 38-10 loss with broken rib cartilage, I just don't understand.
I don't get that either.
I don't understand a lot of the decisions this coaching staff has made this year, and most notably Joe Lombardi. But that falls on Staley as well. The way they're using Austin Eckler, the way they're using Mike Williams, like I just don't understand what they're doing. And it's weird because I don't know if they were fully healthy, because those guys aren't hurt. So I don't know even if they were fully healthy, if those decisions would still be what's holding this team back. So I mean, it's curious.
Luckily, if you're a Chargers fan, that division right now is kind of underperformed.
Yeah, definitely.
Not even kind of. It has.
It's still attainable.
Yeah, so it's not like they're completely.
The Raiders are bad. The Broncos are bad right now.
I have no faith in Denver currently.
Russell Wilson's a bad quarterback right now.
Kansas City maybe we crown Kansas City a little too early too. There's a lot of question marks right now in that division.
I'm not worried about Kansas City.
But with that being said, man, it's tough. Like, it is tough. Like, I was very high on the Chargers, very high on Herbert. It's early in the season. I think, spoiler, I think they bounce back this week because I don't feel like Houston's a good team. And at the end of the day, like, they'll get it done this week. It may not look pretty though. They may get a win in Houston. And may not.
If they do, it's not going to look pretty. I can tell you.
Right.
Houston's scrappy, man. That's a scrappy football team. And that goes out to Lovey.
Davis Mills has played terrible this year too, and
he's not played good. The offensive line's played really good though. Kenyon Green this last game had some really awesome plays at left guard. I know Drew and I were both high on him as well in the draft.
Do we have Jacksonville on this episode?
We don't. We have him next.
Okay,
episode.
well, I'm gonna go ahead and say like my piece on Jacksonville.
Well, now let's wait.
Oh,
let's wait.
I'm ready now. I'm ready to.
We still got
to get on to every single person that got onto that team about Evan.
We're we're a minute. We're gonna go 2 hours in the show, like
Without talking about Jacksonville.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we'll have Jacksonville tomorrow. You got 24 hours. You won't
No,
have to wait.
I like what Houston's done in the secondary. Like Derek Stingley's looked good.
Derek
Jalen
Stingley's looked really
Petrie,
good. Lovie Smith did a
Um,
really good job.
Jalen Petrie's looked really good. The safety that's also
Rookie.
a rookie. But that run defense is god awful, man.
Yeah,
So
it's
like
bad.
this is the Austin Eckler get right game for me, to where like if Eckler doesn't have a big game this weekend, now I'm really concerned, especially with the Herbert injury. Like you would think they're going to
Longest run of the season for Austin Eckler, 8 yards.
I believe it.
I mean, you would think with Herbert being banged up, they're going to want to take pressure off of him. The Houston Texans have a clear way for you to want to beat them. Teams have been running all over them for 3 weeks now. It's not like, and you try not to come to conclusions too early, but whenever you have 3 straight weeks of running backs just going nuclear, that's a trend at that point. And you have one of the best running backs in football. If Austin Eckler doesn't get right this week, and if the coaching staff does not use Austin Eckler,
I was going to say the usage is what's concerning to me, not necessarily the player.
Yeah, no, I'm not concerned with Eckler's talent, but if this isn't a get right game for the offensive system as a whole and for Eckler's usage, then I'm going to be concerned. I'm holding off for this week. After this week, if Eckler still doesn't use the way he should, and if that offense, if at least the running game portion of that offense doesn't perform the way it should, even with the offensive line injuries, this run defense has been that bad for Houston. I still think that Eckler should have a big game if he's used correctly. So
he's only been used correctly once this season. That was against Kansas City. He had 10 targets in that game.
Yeah, Keenan Allen should be.
They're not utilizing him correct.
Yeah, Keenan Allen should be back as well.
Which would be huge.
Yeah, that'd be a big game for them. So yeah, I think we're all three taking the charge. I wanted to take the Texans here, but
yeah, I have no desire to take the Texans.
I think with Keenan Allen coming back and just. I think this could be a good get-right game for them. We didn't talk about the odds, which I do want to touch on real quick. Obviously, the Chargers are favored at -5.5 here, and the money line's -227 and 44.5 point over/under. So, yeah, this could be a good game for the Chargers. Hopefully, they get back on track here. And then our last game.
Save the best for last.
One of the best for last. The Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens. 2 MVP candidates here going up against each other. Did have some news while the show was going on. Xavier Rhodes did sign with the Buffalo Bills.
They've got a lot of injuries in the secondary.
They've got some big ones. Micah Hyde, I told you, that's a huge one. That's huge. One of the best safeties in football. Now,
Baltimore secondary is banged up too.
And but
they're getting healthy.
Marlon Humphrey looked good. Marcus Peters looked better, and then Kyle Hamilton. He's a rookie, still coming into his own, but he made some plays.
Yeah.
The Baltimore secondary looked.
They're getting right. They're getting healthy. So the Bills
by Devontae Parker this week.
It's 2 secondaries going in opposite directions.
Yeah.
In terms of health and things like that. But yeah, Devontae Parker did have a good game against the Ravens secondary. But the Ravens secondary also caused 3 interceptions and forced a fumble. So.
Well, I think the pass rush caused a couple of those interceptions for sure. They were able to get after Mac Jones pretty good.
Yeah, but the guys still gotta.
When you got to catch the ball.
But no, yeah, you're right. The pass rush absolutely played a big piece in that too.
So Bills right now are favored at 3.5. The Ravens are at home
game, right?
Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised by that.
Yeah. So
Bills, I don't think the Ravens are getting enough respect.
Yeah, Bills are -182 favorites to win. This does have a 51.5 point over/under.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's one of the positives of the Bills secondary being so beat up is like it's just going to cause shootouts.
Yeah. So this will, to me, one of the early season games I circle for MVP award. You have 2 of probably the top 2 of the 2 of the 3. Yeah. Well, I think Jalen Hurts is in there too. I think Jalen Hurts is in that conversation.
I would have both the quarterbacks in this game over Hurts personally. And
I know I would probably have Hurts 3.
Take, but
have Hurts 3. But right now I have Lamar as 1. In an absolutely absurd stat I saw like it's so absurd that I have to bring it up. Lamar Jackson has accounted for 86.7% of all yards gained, whether passing or rushing, for the Baltimore offense. To put that into perspective, the season he won MVP, he accounted for 61% of the total yards. He's accounting for almost 87% of all.
He'd be the runaway MVP candidate across the board if people weren't, for whatever reason, penalizing him for the Ravens defense falling apart against the Dolphins and blowing that game. I mean, if the Ravens defense does what it should and they win that game,
that's 2 games the Dolphins have really stolen the last couple weeks. So
well, he still dropped how many points in that game too?
Yeah, Lamar was
the offense was
great. I mean, he threw 3 touchdowns, had no picks. Like Lamar was great.
Ran like a 7-yarder.
Yeah,
So 4 touchdowns in all 3 games so far this season. He's accounted for 12 touchdowns already through 3 weeks. The guy's just and this is a point,
lights out.
Yeah, so this is a point I wanted to make too, because I actually was talking to a guy earlier about this. So I did do an all 22 breakdown of the last, the Ravens game this week. What Lamar Jackson is doing from the pocket needs to be talked about, because we spend so much time. I know we've championed him on this show countless times, but we spend so much time breaking down, or people, the Lamar RB or whatever, or your quarterback's a running back.
Yeah, not bad for a running back.
Yeah, and it was even this offseason. It's like, well, even the Ravens, we need to see more before we pay him all this guarantee. Like, I don't. That price tag's going, like, that the price you were able to get him at 3 weeks ago, gone.
Yesterday's price ain't today's price.
No, gone. This guy is not only, I think, to me, he is I said this earlier. I tweeted out. There's not a reason for me to believe that he's not the best player, just individual player in the entire NFL. What he is able to do, from a pocket passer standpoint as a quarterback. Now it's even more dangerous, because now he's recognizing blitzes, he's recognizing coverages, he's got the mental part down, which is kind of similar to what we were talking about Josh Allen like a few weeks ago. But for some reason, it's talked about with Josh Allen. Nobody's talked about this with Lamar.
No, Lamar Jackson is absolutely
the
football player.
So,
well, I think the overall sports market the last 2 seasons have been so high on Buffalo that Josh Allen's name is mentioned on every show every 5 minutes. What
Lamar Jackson has done through 3 weeks. This guy needs to be propped up for what he's doing. This is
I think he's getting his flowers now, man. I feel like it's gotten.
He's getting his flowers as far as there's Lamar. Look at this run. I don't think he's getting his flowers from what he's done as a pocket passing quarterback, because it has been absurd the way he is picking apart these teams. And he's doing it from recognizing blitz coverages. He's getting his offensive line into proper protections. He's recognizing what he's seeing post snap, and he's attacking. His accuracy has been off the charts. He's just attacking defenses in a different way than he has in previous years. And this is another guy similar to Jalen Hurts, similar to, some other guys that we've talked about on the show, where every year they've shown improvement in their craft. When are we going to stop counting these guys out, saying, I don't think he can become.
When do they start getting the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah,
well, I don't think it's ever been I don't think it's this podcast, and I think a lot. Well,
no, it's definitely not this podcast.
Yeah, I think a lot of the.
But you see it from it's the whole anonymous scout bullshit.
I think it's more. I don't think
anonymous scout. Let me not put my name on this quote.
It's the same anonymous scout that said that Patrick Mahomes was a 1-read quarterback.
Yes,
it's that type of shit.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's the media. I think the media, like ESPN, Fox, these guys, they're giving Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson their credit.
Oh,
think
I think
that's
it's more of an inside the NFL issue, like more of like the scouts and the ownerships and GMs and stuff like that. The league has changed. It's different. It's not. Look at this year. Like we're 3 weeks in. Tom Brady looks like Skeletor. Matt Stafford has not looked great this season. Aaron Rodgers is throwing a bunch of rookies, but he ain't playing great. Like all these guys that we've been dependent upon for years. Like, dude, there's 4 good quarterbacks in the NFL right now. 4. There's 4 every week that you may throw 2 in there as the 5th, but there is no consistency. And then you have Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. That's the only 3 quarterbacks I want to watch right now. Like, I would watch Trevor Lawrence. I would watch Trevor Lawrence over Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady right now. Like that's where
that'll change pretty quick once Chris Godwin, Mike Evans.
Granted, yes.
Well, maybe.
But what I'm getting at though is like
Aaron Rodgers is still playing good. Aaron Rodgers makes some.
Aaron Rodgers don't want to play football. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't think
Aaron Rodgers makes some stupid throws in this game. Like just dumb.
They scored 14 points. It's at the end of the day, they scored 14 points. Yeah. There's a lot of bad.
Score 14 points and still play well.
There is a lot of bad offense going on right now, without a doubt. And there's a lot of injuries.
It's been a rough start.
It's been an ugly 3 weeks, for sure.
Also, too, speaking of injuries, I know we talked about Lamar. I love what he's doing. The Ravens in general, I think they're trending up. They should be talked about as one of the better teams in football. The Bills, on the other hand, not from lack of their own doing. Like, I know we crowned them 2 weeks in. And to me, I still think when fully healthy, this team's still the best team in football. I want to preface this. But I think they're going the opposite way, and that's due to injury. Hopefully, they get a guy like Mitch Morse back. I think that showed its head along the offensive line this week. That really showed its head to me, is the protection breakdowns, the inability to run the football. It didn't look good from an offensive line standpoint. So I think getting a guy like that back will do you'll see a big 180. Now the secondary, I worry about.
There's no fixing that overnight. Like Xavier thing coming in and fixing the injuries that they have right now.
Now the only thing that can happen is they get their corners healthy, and then hopefully you find a way to. You're never going to replace a guy like Micah Hyde, but you try to stem the bleeding from that position. Luckily, Jordan Poyer's still there. He's still a fantastic safety as well, so I think you can get away with it. But that's a big loss. And then Matt Milano's played really good. I think both, they're still missing both their defensive tackles as well. So I think getting those guys back, Tim Settle, Ed Oliver, getting those guys back will be a big boost to that defense. So I'm not ready to write the Bills off at all.
No, definitely not.
But I think a lot of people are. And like it's so weird. It was a weird game because like we're sitting here, we're thinking it's like, well, maybe the Bills aren't the team we thought they were. Maybe we're not that dominant. That was a fluky game in Miami. It was fluky. The Bills dominated that game. And Josh Allen dominated that game. And they still had a chance to win it. They still had a chance to win that game.
I mean, in all honesty, their defense played pretty well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they should have won that game. It was just a fluky game. I'm not ready to move on from that. So that means
I'm not concerned at all.
I'm going to take Buffalo. I still think they're a more well-rounded individual team. Although I do think what Lamar's doing is just it's insane. But I just don't know if eventually they're going to have to count on somebody other than Lamar to produce, because right now, like I said, 87% of all yards. Like it's awesome through 3 weeks. It's not sustainable.
Like J.K. Dobbins made his first. Like he good. He played his first game of the year. He's gonna get his snaps. Gus Edwards is, he's getting close to where he can come off the pup. Like the running game will get better.
Mark Andrews, like I said, best tight end in football.
I still think Travis Kelce's probably the best.
Well, I'm
um,
tight end one fantasy line.
but yeah, he's definitely been that. But like I think that I think that as Dobbins and Gus Edwards get healthy, that running game's going to get better.
But I think that offensive line still has questions.
It does. It does.
Buffalo's
That,
too.
I'm not worried
where
about their running back.
that's where I don't like. I think better than any quarterback in the league when Lamar Jackson can mask issues with the offensive line.
Yeah.
So that like where other teams I might be more concerned with this team, I'm not as concerned, and I don't really know if any team can slow down what he's doing right now. He's just playing on such another level, and then you take into consideration the injuries that the Bills have in the secondary right now.
Well, I think that can be said the
I think
opposite direction too. Like it's going to be
well,
really hard for the Ravens to slow down Josh Allen in this game. I think Josh Allen's going to come out.
no, I think this game's going to be a shootout.
can't
So
wait.
I don't disagree, but I do think that the Ravens being at home and the injuries in the Bills secondary, I think the Ravens have a slight upper hand in this game. So I am going to take the Ravens. But again, similar to what I said earlier, it's not a knock on the Bills. I still love the Bills long term. I still think they're the best team in the NFL when healthy, but they're not healthy right now. And so most teams in the NFL aren't through 3 weeks. There's a lot of beat up teams, but yeah, I'm gonna take the Ravens. What I think will be a very close, very fun game, and the only game that I will probably have on for this for this noon slate. To be honest.
Yeah,
Buffalo fans travel well, but at the end of the day, if this was at Buffalo, I would have the Bills. But being that the Ravens are the home team, I think they get it done at home behind Lamar Jackson. Obviously, I think he's gonna have a big game. The only other thing on this game too is I think Baltimore, if they get a lead early, they're gonna run clock. So if you are betting on this game, like it's always a gamble because it's betting, but I would take the under on this one. I think it's going to be a little bit more defensive than what people think, and I would take the under. I think Baltimore's going to run a lot of ball, control the ball.
I don't know how it can be defensive for these two quarterbacks. I just don't think there's any defense for these guys. There's no.
Yeah, I would have a really hard time taking the under in this one for sure.
I mean it's a big number, and I mean like I get that 51.5. That's a big number, but
the only time I look at spreads that high a lot of times too, man, is if it's depending on the stadium. It's not in a dome; it's an outdoor stadium.
Yeah, but it's September in Baltimore. I mean,
I understand.
Bad weather.
I mean, Baltimore's gonna run the ball a lot.
It might be. We don't know what the weather is yet. I mean, we'll see what happens when it gets close.
Yeah, no, that's true. The weather could be a factor too.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see what happens. But who are you taking, Jared?
I got the Ravens because you're the home team.
All right, so this is our weekly 2-against-1 matchup again here. So
I took the Titans.
I'm taking Bills.
I was an island man.
Yeah, island boy. Island boy. All right, so that's what I know. It's time to give it up. So we got an Island Boy reference. That takes care of our A games. I don't know why we went so long in the show. I don't think we just got long-winded. There's a lot of talk, man. I like to talk.
Yeah, just like to talk about the game, man.
It is, man. It was a good week too, man. I can't wait to finish breaking down some more of these games. But yeah, it was. I will say, man, for it being some bad offense and like. I know Jared said like there's not been good quarterback play in a weird way. I think the quarterback play has actually been okay. I think some of the stuff surrounding the quarterbacks has been really rough. Like if you look on tape, I think like this, the Daniel Jones thing's a perfect example. Like on tape, he played really well, but they didn't score points. They didn't win. And that's ultimately what you're judged on. And, or like Aaron Rodgers, they scored 14 points. Aaron Rodgers played really good. Like he was really good in this game.
Now I'm on board. I can't get on board with Daniel, like with champion quarterback play with Daniel Jones. Like, and I'm like, that's not box score scouting. Like I've watched I've watched more Giants snaps than I'd like to admit this season so far, just because of my love for
Then you would
Saquon.
know he's playing good.
No, he's not,
playing good
man.
football, man.
He's playing okay, but
playing
the,
good.
the,
No,
the
no,
bar
hey,
the bar for Daniel Jones playing good isn't very high if we're saying he's playing
it's not
good.
setting the bar. There's not a bar. It's either you play good
No,
or you don't.
you're
There's not
right.
a
There
bar.
is no bar. If you're saying he's playing
You're
good,
either
then the
you're
bar
either
is
good or you're
non-existent.
bad. You're either good or you're bad. He's playing good. He's playing good. I don't know what you're seeing. I don't know.
I've seen a guy that ain't it, man.
He's playing good football, but that's what I'm saying is like
I'm on board with Aaron Rodgers though.
It's a weird year. Aaron Rodgers playing good football. Aaron Rodgers still like, man, he made some throws this week that it's just absurd. It's just so stupid. He's even made throws last week that were just crazy and like guys just dropping them. So I mean, you can roll your eyes, but I mean, he's still making the throws. So
I agree.
I mean that's all you can do. Actually, the second most pressured quarterback in all of football this year so far, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, David Balcatari was it was like every other drive he was getting in, so that their offensive line's
that'll
getting
get shorter
healthier.
up. I'm not worried.
That'll get better.
Hey, guess who caught another touchdown this week?
It's always good for catching a touchdown and run blocking. That's what he does.
I've got a wide receiver that catches touchdowns. That's fine with me. But yeah, that's it'll be curious, man. I know we called that game too. Like I said, man, the Bucs have been wanting to lose for like a couple of weeks now. So they did.
They're getting healthy.
The Goat Bowl had 26 points in it.
Each week that goes by, the Bucs are getting healthier and healthier. They'll be okay. I'm not concerned with either team.
Yeah, I'm never gonna count.
Oh, I mean, I'm not concerned with either team either. I mean, especially Tampa. They're in a division right now.
The Packers in the Super Bowl,
Carolina Panthers, and I mean, they've already punched their way into the playoffs already. So I don't know. I hate to be so negative. I really hate. There's a lot of bad
There's a lot of bad football. Like I'll agree with that. There's bad football. There's bad offensive football. I agree. And there's been a lot of bad coaching. There's been a lot of bad coaching.
Yeah. We didn't talk about the Tom Brady delay a game at the end of that game either.
Yeah, but so I mean, like, there's a lot of bad coaching.
Got to the Bucs yet. We'll get to the Bucs in the next one.
I think the individual quarterback play has been better than what you think it's been. I just think some of the situations surrounding some of these guys don't allow them to shine the way the tape does, and that's just kind of where I stand. And that's a good way to put it. The situations surrounding them and the points that are put up doesn't allow them to shine the way that the tape allows them to shine. Because you see different things whenever you throw on all 22 film. You see multiple angles, you see the full field, and like it really kind of lets you view things through a lens that you don't normally get in a broadcast view. That's why I always think that it's such an important thing for like people to, if they're like really into football and they want to do that, like I think they should watch all 22 film or they should learn kind of like how to break it down and what they're looking at. Because it really does. It makes a huge difference in the way you see the game and the way you're able to process that kind of stuff. So it's a cool tool. NFL Plus still sucks. It's still a shitty form of when you can't fast forward to certain, like, I know in the old all 22 you used to be able to click on plays and it would take you to that play. There's none of that. You have to and there's no timestamp on it either, so which is normal. You used to have timestamps, but there's no timestamps on it. And then even in the game now, like there's no scoreboard, there's no quarters, like you don't know. You have to just watch it through and then rewind. So I mean, you literally have to watch the full game film. So it's cool. Yeah, that's all. My spill's over. You guys got anything before we close out?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to get fast forward to tomorrow and get to next week's matchups. Yeah,
I'm too. This is some cool slates. All right, so if you're not following us on Twitter, we are at 3Man Rush Podcast. Make sure to follow Drew. Our Twitter handles are in the name. It's at Drew3MR, at Jared3MR, and at Landon3MR. If you do want some more in-depth breakdowns, some all 22 film, I do have some posts on my Twitter that I made mostly of the Colts game, but there are some stuff with the Jaguars game. There's some stuff on there as well. So, and I want to say there might be some stuff on the Ravens game coming up as well. So, if you are curious about all 22 film and different angles, and really getting kind of a bird's eye view of the film, just go check out my Twitter. I have some stuff there, and some film breakdown from other guys as well that I retweet. So some pretty awesome stuff there. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.